Because Stardew Valley is such a beloved and popular game, I get so many requests for games to play next. And my answer might surprise you. Hey, it's Amanda at Cutie Indie Rex. If you followed me for a bit, you know that I love giving game recommendations that are a bit off the beaten path. From games that you might not have heard about before to games that you didn't think would necessarily fit together. I love putting together the oddball game recommendations that just might be great. There are pieces of each game that make it really unique. I like identifying the smaller components of what makes a game great and finding other games that take those bits and kind of run with them in a different direction. So often in game rec articles, you get a list of games that are within the same genre and are very similar to each other. So for example, in Stardew Valley, a lot of the recommendations are all going to be farming sims. And that's totally fair. People who love Stardew Valley should absolutely check out games like My Time at Portia and Sunhaven. But for me, if I've just finished my favorite game, I don't want to then go out and play a game that's very, very similar, because I know that nothing could live up to my favorite game. And if it's that similar, I might actually be more disappointed with it because I would rather be playing the game that I absolutely loved. So in this video, I'll be identifying the things of Stardew Valley that really resonated with me and bring you some game recommendations that take these elements in a bit of a different direction. If you do like these kinds of odd pairing recommendations, make sure to subscribe. I love indie games and I put out videos every week. So I do want to start off with what makes Stardew Valley so great and the elements that I really love about it. I do want to have a disclaimer here that I have not finished Stardew Valley in its entirety. I am a newish gamer. I'm still trying to catch up on the very long backlog of games that I want to play. I haven't gotten to the late game story and gameplay yet, so no spoilers please. I've played enough of Stardew Valley to know the core gaming bits that really resonate with me. That's the planting and selling of crops, upgrading weapons and my farm, relationship building, and dungeon crawling / mining. All of my game recommendations are going to incorporate one or a few of these elements without actually being a farming sim. Are you ready? Let's go. Starting off with my true love of Spiritfarer. This is one of my favorite games of all time. This is a management sim where you play as Stella, a Spiritfarer whose job is to ferry spirits to the afterlife. As you explore the world and build up your ship, you learn the stories of the souls in your care. When a spirit is finished with their time on Earth, you accompany them to help them move on. The gameplay itself is slow and relaxing and allows you to really take your time with the game. It's paired with a meaningful and emotional story along with the beautiful graphics and music. This is the hardest that I've ever cried at a game, so fair warning on that one. Spiritfarer does have a lot of elements that I really love about Stardew Valley. Rather than a farm, you have a ship that you can upgrade and improve on. You create buildings on your ship to help get goods and refine them. This includes areas you can garden and keep animals, a kitchen to cook in, and a loom or foundry to create crafted goods. You use your boat to get around to different islands to explore during the day. Because the boat will not sail at night, this gives you time to build and upgrade your boat, harvest resources, and fish. On the islands, you can meet villagers to complete quests, explore mines to gather resources, and find new spirits to bring onto your boat. There is a big focus in this game on the story of each character, and you grow closer to each character by feeding them, upgrading their house, and talking to them. Spiritfarer does have a definite narrative ending, but with 30 or so hours of gameplay, this feels like a really satisfying end to the story. I also got to explore and build up my ship as much as I wanted before finishing off the game. If you're looking for a more narrative-driven game, and one where you will definitely cry in, Spiritfarer is the one to check out. I've recommended Cozy Grove a few times, and I'm going to keep doing it because I just love it. This is a life sim that's a bit more similar to Animal Crossing, and I do think that it has a lot of crossover with Stardew Valley. In Cozy Grove, you play as a spirit scout on a haunted island. You befriend the island residents, learn their stories, and help them ascend into the beyond. It actually does sound a lot like Spiritfarer if you say it like that. The gameplay is done in small chunks over time, and days pass in the game as they pass in real life. You complete quests for spirits on the island, decorate your space, wear cute clothes, and gather resources. One of the big elements that I enjoyed about this game is the relationship building. As you get to know the spirits on the island, they'll become closer to you and will tell you more about their stories. Building relationships is done through completing story quests where you need to gather items for spirits to unravel parts of their memories. There are some gardening features in Cozy Grove, and you can grow flowers and fruit with availability that changes seasonally. Sell items to get coins, which you can use to buy clothes, decor, spirit animals, and plants, as well as upgrading your tent. There's also artifacts, bugs, fish, and resources to collect every day around the island. This one does have more of a focus on decorating than Stardew Valley does, which I ended up really liking. Because this one is played in real time, there is only so much to do every day, so it's a bit different than Stardew Valley, where you can really binge as much of it as you want. Cozy Grove is a game that you can play for a very long period of time, so it is one that you can really sink into the story and decorating aspects of the game. I'm going to throw everyone for a loop and recommend Boyfriend Dungeon. This one is definitely not close to Stardew Valley, but there are key elements that are similar, and I think it's an odd recommendation that just might work. Boyfriend Dungeon is a dating sim cross-dungeon crawler where the people you date double as the weapons you use to fight with. As you get closer to each of your dates, your weapons improve. Battle your way through enemies in each dungeon floor, collect unique items, and face your biggest fears. The reason why this might seem like such an out there choice is that there is no gardening of any kind in this game. You also don't collect items to sell them and make money. This one focuses much more on the dating and relationship elements, as well as the dungeon crawling aspects of Stardew Valley, and not the farming sim bits at all. To get closer to your dates in Boyfriend Dungeon, you take them on dates, battle with them in the dungeon, and give them gifts that they would specifically like. As you get to know them, you learn more about their backstories and personalities, and you can tailor your responses to making your relationships more romantic or platonic. The dungeon aspect is quite reminiscent of Stardew Valley, where you get lower and lower into the dungeon while battling your way through enemies and finding bonus items on each floor. This one is probably the shortest game on this list and definitely more of a finite story than the other Sims that you can play for a long extended period of time. I really enjoyed my time with Boyfriend Dungeon, so if you are looking for a choice that's a bit more out there, this is a great one to try. In Moonlighter, you play as a shopkeeper by day and a hero battling enemies at night. You go into the dungeons to defeat enemies and collect artifacts to sell in your shop. During the day, you sell these objects to make money and upgrade your weapons and store. It's up to you to figure out a fair price for each item that customers would be happy to pay. While this one is more of an action RPG roguelite and not a farming sim, I did find it very similar to Stardew Valley. The dungeon crawling aspect was very reminiscent of Stardew Valley, while being a bit heavier on the battle side than the mining. You collect items with a limited bag space and have to decide what is the most valuable for you to carry out. There are lots of enemies in Moonlighter and bosses for each level, so definitely more challenging combat than in Stardew Valley. Though with a 2D pixel art style and generally simple controls, the combat is not super complicated. Selling items reminded me of selling crops in Stardew. Again, there's a bit more of a challenge in this aspect where the prices change over time, and I found this mechanic to be really fun and interesting. The gameplay loop for Moonlighter is quite repetitive. You gather, sell, upgrade, repeat. While there are other things to do in Stardew Valley, this kind of repetitive gameplay loop did feel very similar, in a good way. So if you are looking to delve more into the dungeon crawler and selling aspects of Stardew Valley, Moonlighter is definitely a good choice. Slime Rancher is one of my favorite recommendations for those who love Stardew Valley, and I feel like it's one of the more similar games without actually being a farming sim. This is a ranching sim that's in a similar style to a first-person shooter. You explore this beautiful environment and collect slimes to bring back to your ranch in order to keep, breed, and take care of them. You build up corrals in your ranch to keep and breed slimes, grow food for your slimes in gardens, and complete quests to get resources and materials. Mine resources and sell slime materials to get money in order to upgrade different parts of your ranch. There are so many similarities between Stardew Valley and Slime Rancher, even though it's in a totally different style. The keeping of my ranch very much reminded me of my Stardew farm. When they're fed, slimes produce plorts, which you then sell for varying amounts of money each day. This is quite reminiscent of the bins in Stardew where you can sell your crops at the end of the day. I did love the upgrades that I could get from my ranch, and I could add self-watering and fertilizing to my gardens and auto-feeding to my slime corrals. Later on in Slime Rancher, you can start mining for resources in various areas of the map. Slime Rancher is more exploration focused with different parts of the world being opened up throughout the game. There isn't fighting in this one, though there is the odd tar slime that you need to defeat by spraying it with water. Slime Rancher can be played for an extended period of time as well, so it's a good one if you are looking for a game that's more similar to Stardew Valley. How did I do? I know I have some hardcore Stardew Valley fans following me, so I hope I've done you well and given you some new recommendations. And hopefully some that you've never heard of or never thought would be similar. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'm coming at you every week with similarly cute game recommendations. I'll see you next time, and happy gaming!